What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk about what exactly happened this morning, go over some updated data points, tie it all together with some technical analysis, and give you a good projection of where it possibly could go next week. But before we get into any of that, all I ask, smash the thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With all that said, let's get right to it. So looking at the intraday chart, more specifically in the pre-market, it's been all over the place, but for the most part fairly red. And then market opened. We had a very interesting morning, as you can already tell. Typically Lucid does what it wants, and that's just basically how it is. If it wants to go down with the broader market, it does. If it wants to bounce and have an epic bounce like it always does, it does what it wants. And that's one thing I really do like about Lucid. It's very independent, but overall you need some catalyst. So there was a couple things that did come out today that caused this bounce, so I'm going to touch on all of that. But first I just want to go over the live ticker to my left. Currently it is up 1.5%, and with that as well, you can see at the broader indexes, Nasdaq is down 1.5%. so this is a very big day for Lucid. And not only that, 10.1 million shares being purchased by institutions within the first 1 hour of the trading day, whereas the average is 54. So today is going to be a very heavily traded day. And block volume, 851,000 shares being purchased by institutions and hedge funds today alone. So again, today is a very interesting day, and even looking at the number of trades, it's up significantly today alone. So looking at this, there's a couple different factors that worked into what is causing Lucid to bounce back as much as it did. One of which is this, so non-farm payrolls. That is huge, and I was even doing a live stream yesterday and I brought up that this is going to dictate where the market goes. So there was previously 481,000, the forecast was 400, and what actually came out was 678,000. So ultimately that does show that there's a lot of money being made out in the actual economy. So that's one very positive thing, especially considering Lucid is very dependent on consumers, and now this definitely does show consumers have money. So overall, in theory, it should be a win-win for everyone. Right now the market is just down solely because of the Russia tensions. So consumers having a lot more money is very beneficial, especially with more and more studios popping up. And I brought this up over the last couple live streams and videos. That is one really good takeaway from their earnings. I know it was kind of subpar in a lot of different degrees, but the 25,000 as far as reservations, and that mostly being from the States, that is a very big deal, especially considering the demand for EVs in the States has been relatively low. So it goes to show that these studios are very beneficial, and now especially this, showing consumers have a lot more money, that is overall a win-win for everyone. And in addition to that, I did post this on Twitter yesterday, but ultimately Citi did actually say that they're going to be moving back into US equities, and that technically we should be at a bottom. So that is very beneficial for stocks such as Lucid, 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, Palantir, a lot of big names that all have been beaten down so much. So this is some factors that's causing Lucid to bounce back as much as it is. And keep in mind, looking at the Nasdaq, we are down 1.6%. Broader indexes are very much red. Oil, of course, is up significantly. So it's one of those things I'm very impressed with Lucid. And again, going back to a lot of the economic data, that's very beneficial. With that, I'm just going to go over some updated data points, starting with short interest. So short interest right now is 1781, down roughly about 7.2% from 1 week prior. Utilization is 100% day by day change. So far, shorts have actually been increasing their position by 0.53%, which works out to be 1.22 million shares being additionally shorted. And yesterday was a very interesting day. We're up 2 to 3% as far as shorts entering in, whereas Lucid was actually down. So there was something in the water when it comes more specifically down to Lucid, and I really do like that. And in addition to that, looking at options technically today isn't the best. Right now, $242,000 worth of options being done today with the 0% positive. And so that's one thing as well I was bringing up in the live stream. Most likely, there's a lot of big institutions that are just doing a lot of puts on Lucid, which doesn't mean theoretically that they're against Lucid by any means. It just shows that they are against growth stocks, and there is a lot of advantage to doing puts, in their opinion at least. And one thing as well I've been able to tell is the block volume column. So the number of institutions purchasing into Lucid on a daily basis. Typically when we were at mid 30s to high 30s, there was roughly about 2 to 6 million shares being purchased by institutions on a daily basis. So over the last little bit, it's been relatively low, but if you do compare that with the options activity, puts have been up. So theoretically, it's safe to say that instead of them buying physical shares, they've just been doing puts. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's what big money is doing. But regardless of all of that, there is a lot of positives to come from Lucid, and you can tell that based on the price as well. And with that, I'm just going to tie it all together with some technical analysis and give you my prediction of what possibly could happen next week. So looking at the actual chart, I have the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, Bollinger Bands, RSI, stochastic, and momentum. So momentum, despite everything, number of buyers is up. So that's one thing to good take away from today. And stochastic, technically, they still do have that little bit more of a deviation. So red line above the block, showing a little bit more of a bear sentiment. RSI is currently at 37. And looking on the actual chart, we are technically still hugging the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. But again, given the circumstances of what the market and what the other growth stocks are doing, we are doing fairly well. So I'm very happy with Lucid overall today, and especially considering with the tensions and now nuclear war is kind of coming up in topics. This is something that could escalate going into next week. But given the circumstances, I see $21 as the bottom. So whether we actually do hit that or not, but more specifically, if we do hit that, I do see us bouncing off of that and trending higher because we do have extremely strong support at that stage. So overall, given the circumstances, I see a lot of volatility going into next week as well. Great buying opportunities, especially if you have a long-term time horizon. But again, when it's one of those things that it could be all over the place, it could go down to 18, could go all the way to 25, 26, we never know. So overall, looking on the actual chart, unless something substantially changes today, it does look fairly bearish. So most likely we will continue to trend down a little bit despite the positive economic data and despite what Citi is saying. Even though what Citi is saying, I do anticipate a lot more institutions are thinking the exact same things and probably will be starting to buy most likely next week. But again, that's just more of a hypothesis. But with all that, let me know your thoughts on Lucid in the comments below. If you haven't already, smash the thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With all that said, appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.